Of a brand new Hindu temple, the temple Shiva Vishnu. It was a dream which its creators say took a lot of hard work to turn into a reality.
After years of planning and even opposition because some felt the site was a little too close to home, the largest Hindu temple on the West Coast is here to stay. With an elephant leading the procession, local Hindu scholars and leaders from India participated in the opening weekend ceremonies. They blessed the towers with holy water, they offered prayers to the gods, and they even flew in Hindu priests from India to participate in what's called a Kumbhabishekam.
This temple is going to be run by the community, by elected officials, and everybody is free to worship the way they want to here.
As the helicopter flew overhead and dropped thousands of flowers on the Hindu celebrants below, the ceremony attracted the curious who live close by, but chose not to welcome their new neighbors.
There's no need for them to worry because, first of all, we don't believe in converting anybody. And at least speaking for myself, I'm not an authority on Hindu religion. There are about 750 million of them. I don't think we need any more.
Opening day of the temple Shiva Vishnu attracted over 1,000 people from the Indian community. To them, it was a very special time.
It symbolizes the religious beliefs that the Indians have.
To help celebrate this special day and as part of the Hindu culture, there was singing and chanting. There were speakers too. Lieutenant Governor Leo McCarthy, who plans to visit India later this year, was on hand to welcome these people and their new temple. There are no restrictions. The curious and even nearby neighbors who may have opposed it in the beginning are welcome too. In Livermore, Ron Nasso, Channel 7 News.
The builders are still $350,000 short, and they are trying to collect the money from the Indian community to help pay off that
10
debt.
years in the making, it's a Hindu temple built of brick, granite, and marble. Faith Fancher reports. It was a curious yet harmonious mixture of a ritual thousands of years old with 20th century technology. Rose petals symbolizing the blessings of the gods rained from a helicopter circling overhead as Hindu priests consecrated the temple buildings below. It's called Kumbhabishekam, literally the pouring of the sacred water. The water used is from the holy Ganges River in India. It consecrates each temple that houses the 7 aspects of the Hindu god. Some 2,000 of the faithful watched and chanted as the consecration ceremony was carried out. One of the main attractions today, an Indian elephant. This one, rented for the occasion for $500, is usually more at home as a circus performer. But today it was the carrier of the spirit of the gods. This ceremony, most sacred in the Hindu religion, is one that most Westerners and even few Indians rarely see.
I think I'm very lucky to see this. It's something, it's once in a lifetime, yes.
I haven't seen it in India because India temples are very old, so we didn't get to see those. So here, this is the first time.
The temple itself is one of a kind. It's the first authentic Hindu temple in Northern California, a replica of the temples in India. Its plans approved by a high priest in India and many of its artisans imported from that country, especially to work here. It's also the first temple to have both the architecture of North and South Indian Hindu temples together.
The North and South, when it comes to their some of the rituals and even the languages, the food we eat, the way we dress, even the way we look, it's almost like sunshine and darkness because the North Indians are Aryans and South Indians are supposed to be Dravidians. We wanted to blend both architectures, and we're hoping that this would at least unite the Indian community together.
This temple, dedicated to the gods Shiva and Vishnu, was 10 years in the making. Several sites were chosen, then rejected because of objections from the neighborhood residents. This site in the Springtown community of Livermore was finally approved years ago. Residents here had no objections, and some even joined in today's dedication.
Oh, I think it's kind of exciting. It's different, and it's a beautiful structure.
The dedication of this Hindu temple is a ritual that is 8,000 years old, enacted in a community that is barely out of its teens. But today, the ancient and the modern blended perfectly.
Livermore. About 4,000 people were there today for the opening of the Shiva Vishnu temple. The Hindu community spent about 10 years raising money and struggling with planning commissions to try and build it. Only the shrines are finished right now, but eventually a community center and a park will be built on that same site. The Bay Area is the home for an Indian community of about 15,000.
There may be a new U.S. of a different kind today.
Of a different kind today. The small East Bay community of Livermore is now the home of the largest Hindu temple on the West Coast. The opening of Temple Shiva Vishnu culminates 10 years of planning and struggling by the Indian community. News 11's Kathy Richards has the story.
It's not the kind of architecture most people would expect to find in the sleepy town of Livermore. The spires of the red brick temple sit in the middle of a 4-acre field, just a block away from a community of tract homes. Today's official opening ceremony was, in a sense, a lot like being transported onto the pages of National Geographic magazine.
This is the first time for generations in my family we are able to see an opening of a temple.
As priests sprinkled holy water on stone carvings, the temple was also blessed by a burst of rose petals dropped from a helicopter. For an estimated 15,000 Hindus in the Bay Area, the temple opening represents a coming of age in the Indian community.
It is a new community in this beautiful new country of ours, America.
For people who worship the Hindu gods of Vishnu, Shiva, and Rama, the temple is a place to go to practice their beliefs. It gives them an opportunity to pass on their traditions and beliefs to their children.
Every time on a Sunday people go to church, and I always felt like I'd miss something. Now I'm not going to miss anything because I can go here and worship.
But getting the $2.5 million temple built has not been easy. The 10-year project has been met with obstacles, struggles to find a site, get the necessary permits, and convince the Livermore community they're not a cult. California Lieutenant Governor Leo McCarthy has been one of their staunchest supporters.
Now, some people from time to time express fears about new waves of immigrants. I love our diversity. I see it as an enormous strength.
This is so important for the future generations, for people who don't have any background about Hindu religion and temple and all that.
In Livermore, Kathy Richards, News 11.
Now, Shiva Vishnu is the third Hindu temple to open in the East Bay over the past several years, but it is the first authentic Hindu temple in Northern California. Others are run out of churches or private homes.